question from Team Equality.
It's me. Well, at this point, our discussion naturally moves toward the debate over homosexuality itself. So our last question represents this opportunity to get to the bottom of things. Is homosexuality harmful? What specifically are the harms of same-sex relationships, same-sex sexual romantic relationships, and behavior?
There are some very definite harms. Excellent studies show that health-wise, the homosexual lifestyle is a much higher health risk than a heterosexual lifestyle. And the children that are raised in those homes are at much greater risk of being depressed, acting out, having poor performance in school, poor performance on a number of tests that really, when you rule out all the other variables, come right down to it's an offshoot of the lifestyle. I think, too, that as you look at the stability of families over time, there's no question, but factually, numerous studies have documented that gay partners simply don't have the same promise of longevity as do heterosexual partners when you're looking at just the numbers. When you're talking about, how can you love someone, you're dealing with issues that are so flexible, so difficult to tie down. Again, it's a lot of opinion, but the studies show that children are damaged by these kinds of households. It could be right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, we can come up with all kinds of reasons why they are, but children are at higher risk, adults are at higher risk physically and mentally in these kind of relationships.
Maybe I might jump in here too. This is where the civility really surfaces. It is so hard and so difficult to engage in this very discussion. The fact of the matter is the evidence is strong and compelling and very deep. Just one early indicator, and it's painful and hard to even cite it, but it would be misleading not to, especially when the question's been so directly posed. Here at the very law school, S.J. Quinney College of Law, the Journal of Law and Family Studies, Dr. Dean Bird of the U of U School of Medicine extensively documents all the statistics that would refute what was just said. It's painful to note. The disease level is sky high. The promiscuity is sky high. He says, gay men who were coupled reported that they had sex with someone other than their partner in 66% of their relationships during the first year, rising to 90% in the next year. He concludes that gay relationships last typically 1.5 years on the average, had an average of 8 partners per year outside those relationships. He concludes that mothers and fathers are absolutely essential for optimal child rearing. Gender complementarity affords children the opportunity to thrive in the best possible environment. He goes on to say children have a right to the best possible parenting arrangements that society can provide. Regarding gender complementarity, he says, in child rearing, tradition and science agree. Mothers and fathers provide optimal development for children. Children's needs must be placed first. The placement of children in settings where there is not a mother and a father begins a slippery slope, one filled with risks that neither the children nor society can afford to take. A California legislator, go ahead, Bill.
I was actually going to following the tradition of letting the lawyers on either end have a comment, I wanted to respond to that suggestion about the California Supreme Court not being relevant. Actually, it's extremely relevant because that's only part of the question that the Court's being asked, whether Proposition 8 is amendment or revision. There's also the question the Attorney General's raised, which is that he believes that redefining marriage is such a fundamental right that the people of the state actually have no ability to reverse the court on that decision. And so if the court is to rule that, as they certainly may, they're somewhat untethered from reality there, they would set precedent that there are certain issues on which a court can speak but the people of the state cannot speak. And if that precedent's followed in other states, then of course everything's up for grabs and we don't have a rule of law anymore. So it actually is very important what the California Supreme Court has done and what they're considering doing now. We're hoping, of course, they'll step back from the brink, but we don't know.
If it could also, again, painful data, but from a national same-sex relationship advocacy magazine cited by a California legislator, the writer in the magazine says, Children are naturally sexual. They deserve the right to a sexual expression with whoever they choose. We must listen to our prophets. Instead of fearing being labeled pedophiles, we must proudly proclaim that sex is good, including children's sexuality. We must do it for the children. Another one writes, no one should be denied basic civil rights because of his or her orientation, whether the person be homosexual, heterosexual, transsexual, transvestite, pedophile, sadist, masochist, asexual, whatever one can imagine. They are in themselves all natural variations.